Welcome to Locally Sourced. I'm Armanda Familetti. Tonight, my guest is an expert on the Putnam Rail Trail and a leading citizen here in Putnam County. Welcome, Kevin Callahan.
Armanda, thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I've been trying to get you on the show for quite a while, so I appreciate your being here. Kevin, tell us something about the background and history of our beautiful Putnam Rail Trail.
Yeah, well, let me start to say when rail trails as a movement started. I did a little research, and the first rail trail that opened up was in 1967, and actually opened up in, it was called the Elroy-Sparta Trail, and was opened up in the state of Wisconsin. So that started in the 60s when trains were no longer being used and rails were vacant, not being used anymore. So at some point, Putnam County was looking into using the Put line. When it ended its passenger service, I believe, was around the 1960s. Freight stopped around the early 1970s. Westchester County was looking at it originally for making it rail trails, making it into a linear park. I would take my boys, my wife, we would go on the trails from Baldwin Place going down to Westchester County. That was probably in the probably early 1990s. Around the same time, there was an organization here in Putnam County called the Putnam Rail Trails Association, which I joined. And that was a group that got together to try and not really work with Putnam County, but kind of see what Putnam County was doing to bring rail trails into the county, to extend the line from Baldwin Place to the end, which would be the village of Brewster. So we would attend meetings with the county and find out where their plans were. Putnam County, when the Put line went out of service, the property, my understanding, reverted back to the adjacent property owners. Putnam County needed to then, through eminent domain, take over the property. And once they completed the acquisitions of the property, they were able to actually plan the trail, which they did over time. And now it's gone from, the first section that I believe was done was right near Croton Falls Road, near the Mahopac Firehouse. There was road work that was done, and part of that you had to incorporate the rail trail work. And that was probably in the mid-1990s, and it was probably a section of roughly 300 feet long. That section was done, and there's also a section done up in Patterson on the Maybrook line. It was also done around, I'm going to say, the mid-1990s. And those are the early portions in Putnam County.
So let me interrupt you for a second. Sure. Why were you interested in getting involved in rail trails? I mean, you like to walk your dog?
No, I like to go for bike rides.
Bike rides,
and,
okay.
Probably in the early 90s, before, or maybe mid-80s, before my sons came along, my wife and I went for a bike ride. We live in the town of Southeast. We went down Route 22, past the spillway, down to Stoneleigh Avenue, and coming back up Stoneleigh Avenue past Putnam Hospital. And the two of us were almost run off the road by a driver. This is early Sunday morning. There's really no traffic. There was probably only one of a couple of cars that we saw.
And you were with small children, I
That was just my wife and I. I wouldn't take, after that was the last time my wife and I rode on any of the roads around here. We just didn't feel it was safe. And then when our boys came along, I would only take them on the rail trails, and that was primarily just Westchester County. We would go on vacation up to Cape Cod, and we'd go up there because they had rail trails up there. They had an extensive, they still do have an extensive trail up there. You go out to the ocean, you can go into the bay. So I got involved with rail trails from more, I guess, a safety standpoint. And I've gone on a number of trails around the area in New York State. This past Sunday, my wife and I, my sister and her husband went on the Dutchess Trail from Wappingers Fall to the walkway over the Hudson. The walkway over the Hudson is a really beautiful trail in Dutchess County. On Sunday, they had a ALS walk. They had over 2,000 people on the bridge walking.
That's fantastic. So tell me, I know before I came to Putnam County, which was about 20 years ago, I used to ride my bike on the North County Trail.
It's Westchester.
Westchester, which connected to the South County Trail, which connected to the Bronx. Well, right? So this is something that's, important piece of parkland between Westchester and Putnam County.
Oh, it is.
And now would you say there is a connection between South County, North County, and Putnam Rail, right?
Right. Once the county is working on like the last section, which would take you to North Main Street, it's actually in town of Southeast. I say the Village of Brewster. It's right over the line from the Village of Brewster. That will take you to North Main Street. Will actually connect with the Maybrook line, which is literally across the street. Right now, somebody could come up from New York City, and I know people have done it, come up by Metro North, come to the Village of Brewster, ride across Route 6, get onto the rail trail, and ride all the way down to the city. As my understanding, will take you all the way down to Van Cortlandt Park. If you then, you go on a road for about, I think it's a mile, you can then connect with the trail that runs along the Hudson River. Starts north of the George Washington Bridge, goes all the way down to Battery Park.
Right along the Hudson, it's beautiful.
Right along the Hudson. My wife and I, we're doing it this Sunday. We've done it in the past. We park at Riverside Park just below George Washington Bridge. We're right along the Hudson down to Battery Park. We'll get onto the ferry, which will take us over to Governor's Island. Governor's Island is open. The ferry actually will close the end of October. You can ride around Governor's Island. That's now a national park. There were 2 forts on the island from when it was a naval station. The views of the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, Lower Manhattan, the Brooklyn Bridge, and Brooklyn is beautiful. They have a section there called Hammock Way. They have about a dozen hammocks set up where you can go and you can
rest?
Walk it, just rest. In fact, last year we had a group that went down and somebody did go in a hammock and fell asleep for a while. It's a really beautiful spot. They have these slides that they put in for kids and for adults. Tallest one's almost 20, 30 feet high. My wife went down that slide, almost took somebody out at the bottom. They have food courts on there. They have concerts going on occasionally now at Governor's Island. It's one of the best rides around. And you could theoretically right now travel from the Village of Brewster, Putnam County, and go right down to the tip of Manhattan and go to Governor's Island. It would probably be close to 50 miles one way.
Wow, okay. That's the problem with biking. I find that I can go as far as I want, but then I realize I have to come back because that's where my car's parked.
You do have to come back.
Yeah, that's kind of the tough part of it. So it sounds like you're an avid biker, as is the rest of your family, and so naturally you wanted a safe place to bike. You're up here in Putnam County, and like a good citizen that you are, you joined the Putnam
Rail Trail Association.
Now, can anyone join the Rail Trail Association?
I'm not even sure if it's still around. This was over 20 years ago, and I'm not sure if the group is still around.
Well, who's looking over the rail trail now in Putnam County?
It's the county. The county, they do have police that monitor the trails, but it's really just the county. There are no, as far as I know, no groups that are out there cleaning up or doing anything. It's left to the county. Has a contract for people to cut the grass.
It's very well kept.
It is.
It is a beautiful rail trail and very well maintained. So it's been taken over by the county from this association?
Oh, no, the county, the county has had it the whole time. No, okay. the county, it's county property, it's their park. They maintain it.
So let's talk a little bit about how our Putnam Rail Trail fits into the bigger picture. So you mentioned the Maybrook line. You mentioned that little pieces of the rail trail were created, sort of separated from anything else. I think we have a graphic actually that you prepared that shows what exists now, what's coming in the near future, and we'll be able to see that on the screen in a second. But just sort of tell us, is the Putnam Rail Trail completed? We have the graphic now.
The Putnam Rail Trail is a section that needs to go from roughly.
Can you point it out to us on the screen?
No, over further to come more or less in the middle, right? The one coming from the bottom, that's the Putnam line. So there's one small section, really probably less than a mile, that has to be completed, which will take it from roughly Brewster Heights area back along parallel to Route 6. You can't really see it on here too well.
Well, the red part near the top of the screen, is that something
Dutchess County.
And is that finished, or that's coming, or?
Parts from Hopewell Junction to Poughkeepsie, that's the Dutchess Rail Trail. That's completed right now. That's roughly 23 miles. No, I'm sorry.
Where does it start in Dutchess
It starts in
County?
Hopewell Junction,
Okay.
and there's a museum right there, and it will take you to the walkway of the Hudson, roughly 13 miles one way.
Okay.
Going the other way, coming east from that point, that again is the Maybrook line, if they connect it into the village of Brewster where it comes, then you could theoretically at some point, and what the point of my map was, the future of the trails, that the village of Brewster, which was known as a hub of the Harlem Valley because of trains, I'm going to say it was a hub of the Harlem Valley because of cars with I-84 and I-684.
Okay.
Now it's going to be the hub of Harlem Valley because of rail trails. Technically, the trails don't actually join in the village of Brewster, it's in the town of Southeast, but in my opinion, it's close enough. So the bigger picture, what I showed there is that theoretically, someone could come from New York City, because for tourism, promoting bike riding, coming up to Putnam County, someone could theoretically, somewhere down the road, if this all gets completed, you could go from the village of Brewster right back to New York City on a Putnam line. You could go from the village of Brewster on the Maybrook line and go over to Poughkeepsie and take the Hudson line back down to New York City. You could go east towards Danbury, and I would hope that it goes into the Danbury Rail Museum, which would be perfect. Connecticut is already working along sections along Route 7. So theoretically, if it all gets completed, you could take another rail trail from Danbury down to Norwalk so someone could then get back to New York City by the New Haven line. That's my big plan.
Well, actually, there is, New York State, Governor Cuomo, I think, is really behind rail trails and sees the value of bringing people upstate and being able to enjoy our beautiful scenery. So we actually have another slide that shows the bigger picture for New York State. There it is. And this isn't now, but this is what we're hoping for the future. Can you explain what's going on here?
Parts of that are in place. Governor Cuomo this year in the State of the State address was able to acquire $200 million to put in 750 miles of trails. The goal is to have it run from lower Manhattan.
This is a new 750?
Well, this is to plug the gaps that are missing.
All right, so he's not laying down new 750 miles of trail.
No, it will be, when it's all completed, it'll
be one continuous rail trail.
The goal is to go from, well, in some sections it'll be on road. You go north, it'll go from Battery Park to the Canadian border, north-south. East-west is going to be from Albany to Buffalo. The Albany to Buffalo portion right now is roughly 80% paved or it's crushed stone. The portion to get from Battery Park all the way up to Canada is going to take you through the Maybrook line to get over the bridge in Poughkeepsie, to go up to Kingston, then actually you come back on the east side of the Hudson and go north. That will be portions of rail trails and portions on road biking. Mostly the northern part will be on road.
What's the timeline? When can we expect? When can I expect to bike from Poughkeepsie to Governor's Island? Never.
Well, Cuomo, his goal is to have this completed by 2020.
Wow.
That's what his goal is.
Are we on schedule?
That I'm not sure if we're on schedule. I did see a plan that came out in August. It was a draft plan from New York State showing exactly which portions are being done in what timeline. I'm not sure if anything's actually started, but first you do the planning. And some of these trails have been planned, like the portion from Hopewell Junction to Brewster. That's the Maybrook line. Well, I think Dutchess County is working on it because they're extending. There's a trail from the Wasaig train station to Millerton. Dutchess County has another $3.5 million to extend that from Millerton up to, I believe it's Bash Bish Falls, up along that line. So Dutchess County sees the benefit of it. The amount of people that are on the Dutchess County Trail is significant, almost any time you go there. Ulster County wants to extend it into New Paltz. There's a trail, the Wallkill Trail, which runs from Wallkill to Kingston. I've done that trail too. That's crushed stone. They want to extend it then into the Mohonk Preserve.
Oh my.
So the goal is to extend this trail as much as it can because it is a significant benefit to the residents of New York State.
Yeah, 2020 to me sounds a
right
little, right around the corner and maybe a little ambitious. But I'll just say that when I'm riding the trail and I get to, I think it's Putnam Road in Brewster, I can see that there's more of the trail that I could take, but there's a fence there that says,
right,
do not enter, and it's been that way for a while. So what's happening there? Is there some kind of a holdup that I can't continue into Brewster?
Yes. The goal is to have the bike trail go over the Metro North tracks. And I believe the holdup has been that bridge to get you from what you see as blocked off, to get you to a point where you would get onto a bridge, you go over the Metro North train tracks to come out on North Main Street. As I said before, if anyone knows where Kobackers is,
Right.
the IJ store on North Main Street, literally right across the street, you would then pick up the Maybrook line. Right now, the Maybrook line is paved, I think it's about 3 miles. A little bit north, it's paved, and it goes to, there's a bridge near, that goes over the Croton River. That has to be rehabbed. When that's rehabbed, then you can continue on to the Connecticut border. So that's locally what's in the works now. I don't have the time frame on when that bridge will be done. I believe Putnam County is still working on that. I'm not sure if the contract has gone out to get that done. But there is work that's being done on the Maybrook line, so don't have the time frame.
You don't have a time frame. I think even 2020 for that part may be
That's Cuomo's time frame.
a little ambitious. So what can we do on the rail trail anyways? You like to bike, I like to bike. I also like to walk my dog. We have some photos of how beautiful the rail trail is in all times of the year, spring, summer. This is one of my favorite stretches, actually. It goes like a causeway between the reservoirs.
Yes, that's my favorite spot too.
Yeah, it's beautiful at all times of the year and just a wonderful spot. And then we have autumn and green times, and as I mentioned, the other thing I like to do is, of course, how beautiful is that, and how refreshing is that when you walk or ride or skate or whatever you want to do. It's just a real change. I mean, we all live in Putnam County. We think we live in a country-ish place, but when you get on the rail trail, you really see. And there's actually, there's my girl Lady, and she loves the rail trail. So let's talk a little bit about maintenance of the rail trail as far as the people who use it go, and dog walkers especially, and etiquette on the trail. I noticed that most people are very good about, they appreciate what we have here in Putnam County, and they help to maintain it as well. But not everyone is that way. So what would you say? You're on a lot of rail trails. What's good rail trail etiquette when you're using it?
Well, etiquette, and I believe Putnam County has signs up there, is to, if you're walking, stay to your right. If you're riding a bike, you stay to your right. When I come up on people who are walking or riding slower, I will let them know I'm going to pass them on their left by saying on your left. Dog walkers are required to
pick up
after their dogs, and I would say that's probably done most of the time that I've seen, but occasionally, actually on Sunday when I was riding, I did see someone who wasn't, but I think for the most part, people do. And the etiquette.
Well, we're all using it, so I think we should all be conscious of our neighbors and, make it pleasurable for everyone. And I have to say, though, for bike riders, when I am walking my dog, sometimes they're going kind of fast. Are there any rules about how fast you can go? I mean, it's almost like they're going as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, well, you'll find the real serious bikers who want to go fast, for the most part, will shun the rail trails. Because I go and say, you're walking a dog. I come up to someone who is walking a dog, and I'm very careful if they have a long leash to let them know I'm coming up. So there's time for them to get control of the dog, because I don't want to go down. I certainly don't want to hurt the dog.
Right.
But there are people who ride fast. When we ride down in New York City, the amount of people on the trail in New York City, you really have to pay attention to the amount of people, because you have people riding bikes, rollerblading, walking. There'll be young kids on there with their families.
Well, you can't ride fast in those conditions, it seems, right?
There are some bike clubs members who I've seen who have the jerseys on who are going a lot faster than I think it's personally think it's
Yeah.
safe to do.
Yeah, that frightens me a little bit, and I maybe I wish there was a little more signage or something that said, share the road, slow down.
I agree. I have people, I'm riding, I ride maybe 10 miles an hour. And there are people who go past me, and they don't say anything. If I were to make a turn, the two of us are going down.
Right.
So I'm annoyed when people come up on me without at least letting me know that they're coming.
I have a little bell. Ching, 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 ching.
One of my bikes has a bell. The other one I just yell on your left.
And a lot of people have earplugs in their ears, too, so you have to be pretty loud.
Yes.
Screaming. Yes. You have to scream.
You do.
So if people are, I know a lot of people use our trails. It's great to see everybody out there all times of the day. So how do people find out more about the trails if they want to be a supportive of the rail trails? Tell me about the county, the Visitors Bureau. Where would you go for more information?
Well, the county does have information on, I think it's the planning department's website.
Right.
They have the trails.
You can download trail maps from there.
Both the Maybrook line and the Putnam line. You can get those right online. The next level would be, let's say, the state level. If you really want to see what the state's planning, on their website, you can find the map that they're looking to do. I belong to the Rails to Trails Conservancy. That's a magazine that comes out every other month, and that talks about trails on a national level. So if you really want to see some very interesting trails, and every other month we come out this magazine, the trails that you see in Canada, out west,
I can imagine.
They're just spectacular, and they're designed to have a very slight grade, because they were used a lot of times for freight lines, and you can only have a certain amount of grade. The Erie Canal trails, right along the Erie Canal, there's no grade. I've done portions of that. I've seen portions of it up near Brockport and Rochester. They're absolutely beautiful. So you can get information, even on this. There's a regional planning association that talks about trails more like New Jersey, Connecticut, New York. So there are different areas to get information on trails. If you want specific information on trails, New York City has, and New York City is adding more protected bike lanes in the city. They want to get more people out. You can ride across the Brooklyn Bridge.
They want fewer cars and more bikes.
And I was just reading just in the last week or two, roughly, all the bike riders in New York City, roughly 500,000 people in New York City ride a bike a few times a month. As part of the Visitors Bureau, I like to see that we can start to target those people that come up. And once they realize they come by train up to Putnam County and actually ride back down to New York, I think we'll see an increase in tourism, which leads to economic development in Putnam County.
Well, that's what I want to talk before we have to wind up. You are the vice president and the treasurer of the Visitors Bureau. You're on their board. So I would imagine that this is a real selling point, as you say, to get people up into our area and going to our restaurants and buying at our bike shops and stuff like all that sort of thing. So tell me a little bit more, as a member of the Visitors Bureau, specifically why rail trails are so.
Well, I usually mention almost every board meeting we have. I bring up rail trails because I believe from a tourism point, there is a huge opportunity to bring people up. I've been on the board since August of last year. We've had some changes. The new director, Bruce Conklin, has been working on the website, the travel booklet that goes out. So coming up, there'll be an opportunity. I see getting people to come up and ride from New York, from Brewster back down to the city. There's also an opportunity for fundraisers. Last year, my wife and I were riding on the trail over near Brewster Heights, and we see all these people going by, and they have numbers on their back. And
they're on the rail trail.
On the rail trail. No idea what was going on. We stopped somebody. Said, "What's going on?" Well, it turns out it's called the Ride for the Cause. It's AIDS research. It's been going on for almost 20 years. They ride from Boston to New York City, 4 days, 275 miles. And now they ride the last section. The last night they spend in Danbury. Next morning they get up and there are signs to come across and to get onto the trail near Brewster Heights and take the last section, goes down on the Putt line. So I'm thinking there's an opportunity for causes in New York City to get people, because you can get special trains from Metro North where if you have a group coming up, they'll set aside a train for you and your bikes. Otherwise, on the weekends, you can bring, I think, 8 bikes per train. During the week, during rush hour, it's less than that. But you can make special arrangements with Metro North, so you can have a ride for whatever cause you like from New York City, and people could come up and ride back down to the city. So I can see the Visitors Bureau promoting getting people up day trips, because eventually you may be able to ride, again, from the village of Brewster to Hopewell Junction. The Beacon Trail goes in, which you take from Hopewell Junction to Beacon. The Fjord Trail is going in from Beacon to Cold Spring. So again, theoretically, someone can come up to the village of Brewster and now really see different parts of Putnam County, the east side as well as the west side. Again, this is all in the future. I like to see it tomorrow, but realistically, it'll be a while.
Well, I'm glad to see that the state and the county are putting some money behind it and some talent behind it, and I'm all for sharing our beautiful rail trails with whoever wants to come up and be on them with me, as long as they don't ride their bikes too fast. Thanks, Kevin. This has gone pretty quickly, right?
Yes, it has.
Are you going for a ride after the show?
I would like to, but no, I'm not.
That's too bad. I know you'll be out on the trail very soon.
Sunday.
Thanks so much for being my guest.
Thank you very much.
And for appearing on the show. And I hope you make it a regular thing, Kevin. I hope we see you quite a bit, because I know you're into a lot of different things, promoting Putnam County. And I just want to thank our wonderful crew, as always. They do a terrific job, and they show up, and what would we do without them? They're all volunteers. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
For tuning